Hello, folks, and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Crypto Byte. Today is Friday, January 14th. Congratulations on making it through another volatile week in these markets.
Whoa! It's only Thursday. Slow down there, my friend.
No, today's Friday, isn't it?
No? Oh, all right. Sorry. Go ahead.
CJ, get with it, my friend. It is Friday. This week, it did feel like a pretty long week. I'm not gonna lie. So, it was a pretty crazy week here. We had some big events on Wednesday with those inflation numbers, the market responding around those numbers. But now we're headed into the weekend. Plenty to discuss here as we enter the weekend, and a few headlines I want to hit here first. CJ, now that we've got the date established here, let's dive into some headlines. What do you say, my friend?
Let's do it. And some big ones today. First, coming out of Brazil. Let's pull it up here. Rio de Janeiro mayor plans to invest 1% of the city's treasury in Bitcoin. But that is not all. There's actually a potential discount for citizens who pay their taxes with Bitcoin. So the Secretary of Finance at the event recently said, we are studying the possibility of paying taxes with an additional discount if you pay with Bitcoin. You can take the discount of the single quota of 7%. It becomes 10% if you pay in Bitcoin. So they're studying the legal framework to do that, but that is quite interesting. And 1% might not seem like a lot, but just getting off zero, I think, is a lot for many countries. I think there's probably also a lot of smaller African countries that have probably bought Bitcoin at this point, but they just don't announce it because there's no reason to. But yeah, really interesting news coming out of Brazil. Your take, Monty?
Yeah, CJ, not only is that, big news for Brazil, but that is exactly what I want to see in order for Bitcoin to get away from this, speculative tie-in with traditional equities and get back to that, more store of value kind of ethos that kind of initially propelled price action, because this is the sort of use case that is, non-speculative, putting it on a balance sheet, holding it for the long term, giving it genuine utility in the form of a discount on paying taxes. That is hugely important, and I think is going to be one of the keys to kind of differentiating this Bitcoin from a speculative asset. And obviously, the last couple of weeks have proven that we are heavily dependent on performance in the Qs and the general traditional equities. So I think any news case like this, where we bring on some utility that is beyond just pure speculation and actually provide some benefit to the people, especially when it comes to Latin America, which seems to be really one of the fastest growing regions in the world in terms of adopting cryptocurrency. So very, very bullish news there, in my opinion. And, I think it's not only good for Brazil, but very, very good for Bitcoin in general as well.
Also, we have some news coming out of FTX. They are starting a $2 billion fund to invest specifically in crypto startups. Anything there that you'd like to go into?
Yeah, CJ, this is big news, and this is kind of, I think we've kind of talked about what could potentially be an emerging trend in 2022. Layer ones were the big trend in the second half of 2021. One thing that I think will be very important to watch in 2022 is the formation of these venture capital funds and where they choose to invest their money. And FTX is just the latest. This is a very, very large fund, and they will be investing entirely in crypto startups. It'll be headed by Amy Wu. This was confirmed in a tweet last night. And this is exciting that she's heading this because, she is formerly from Lightspeed. I know she has a strong interest in kind of the gaming plays within the crypto space. So I think that could potentially be very, very interesting to see kind of where this FTX fund puts their capital. Like it says here, she joined FTX this month from Lightspeed Ventures. And she said the funds could deploy all of their capital by next year. But that depends on the opportunities that they see in the market. And like I just said, she told the journal that she's particularly interested in crypto gaming companies as well as insurance and security projects. So seeing this fund established, I think is very interesting. This is a significant amount of capital, and it could really be a difference maker in any individual protocol. Having this much capital, this much seed capital makes a tremendous difference. So seeing where they choose to deploy their capital, I think will be largely important. And like I said, this isn't just FTX that's doing this. I think this will be a theme to continue to watch where these venture capital firms deploy their capital. We also have Paradigm. They have a $2.5 billion fund that was established at the end of last year. They are just starting to look to deploy their capital now. So, with this, with FTX and Paradigm, that's over $4 billion. Then you add in Andreessen Horowitz and their $2.2 billion fund that was established last year, and it's just now beginning to deploy some capital. We actually just talked about Near Protocol. Some of their venture capital actually was just put into Near Protocol in their most recent round of fundraising. So this is going to be very, very important. I think watching where these venture capital firms put their money will be a good indication for some emerging projects, some emerging layer ones. We saw how important that seed capital was to projects like AVAX back in the summer. We had Three Arrows Capital providing some seed money to AVAX way back in, I believe it was August. That really allowed AVAX to incentivize bringing on some members and allowed the ecosystem to grow. Also was an incredibly profitable trade for Three Arrows Capital as well. So this is just another piece of news. Latest firm getting involved, FTX. No surprise there, but it's going to be interesting to see where they choose to deploy their capital here.
Yeah, it's gone really well for Three Arrows Capital thus far. They do have to hold that one for like 3 or 4 more years, though. So it's going to be, I can't even imagine how different the landscape will be at that point, but I'm sure it will be. Moving on to the crypto options market. I will bring up this article, Monty, that you shared earlier this morning, specifically covering how crypto options have been impacting the spot market. So a Singapore-based crypto fund named QCP Capital wrote in Telegram that the newfound strength of the crypto options market actually prevented Bitcoin from bottoming out below 40,000. And this is quite an interesting chart here. When we had the test of 40K on Bitcoin, we actually had a very large accumulation of calls, specifically short-term 1 week at the monies that perhaps, created that bottom or led to a little bit more buying at that support level of about 39 to 40K, preventing a further drop down further. But, I think you're going to see more of this. I think you're going to see like more vol harvesting strategies as well, which will probably diminish volatility over time in the market. But Monty, any comments on that particular report from QCP?
Yeah, it was when we were retesting 40K, CJ, it was just really interesting to note the amount of delta trades we saw going on at that level of 40K for Bitcoin and at that level of 3K for ETH. It really seemed like the whales that were in options positions wanted those levels to be maintained. But one thing that's definitely worth noting is the fact that this is kind of a double-edged sword, because although they didn't want Bitcoin to go below 40K, I think what's evident from that chart from Skew is that, although they accumulated as at the retest of 40K, now we also have the sell pressure from these 1 week at the money calls and those the traders taking profit after that slight move. So although it did provide some nice support at 40K, I think that's also part of the reason why we're seeing such immediate resistance when we bounce from that critical level. Traders are taking profit on those long calls, which makes sense given the fact that they bought it at 40K at this critical level of resistance. They're just 1 week at the monies. So, taking profit after a bounce from 40 to 43K actually makes a lot of sense and is a relatively profitable trade. So I think that it's going to be really interesting to keep watching the options market here, especially as we kind of enter into the second half of the month. I think that, although we may see a little bit of sell pressure towards the end of the month, as we typically see around options expiration, it'll be really interesting to see kind of what happens after that sell pressure, if we get a continuation of positive price action or a continuation of this sort of bearish neutral consolidation. But I think the options market is proving that it is playing a significant role in how the spot market is playing out as well. So kind of an interesting dynamic going on between 40K and 43K right now in the options market.
Thank you very much for that, Monty. Appreciate you guys all watching today. If you'd like to hear more about Monty and I's trade insights, what our personal investments are, and interim moves that we're taking, You can check out the link in the description below. Please hit the like button as well. That helps us quite a bit. But thank you guys all for watching. Really appreciate it. And I hope you have a wonderful day.
Have a great rest of your